Hi, I'm Rad Linux, and as I was scrolling through Instagram today, I noticed that Flipper Zero has released its second official module. It's been kind of wild as like the third-party module scene has exploded. Flipper Zero has been pretty quiet. They only sell the Wi-Fi dev board, which has been available since the release of the Flipper Zero. It's taken them a bit of time, but today they released the video game module, and it's definitely a departure from the dev board, both in aesthetics, it's a much more polished module, and also in functionality. I think it's kind of targeting a little bit of a different market. So let's take a second and check out this video on Instagram.
This module turns Flipper Zero into a game console. Introducing Flipper Zero video game module powered by Raspberry Pi. It is based on RP2040 chip. The same chip was used in Raspberry Pi Pico. This means you can run tons of Pico community projects. We also added a motion tracking sensor, so you can use it in games and other apps. Video game module works as a standalone device, allowing to write your own firmware. Use GPIO pins to connect any external components. Now available in official Flipper shop.
So this is the new module. It's definitely really pretty. It looks really good. It seems like they put a lot of time and effort and energy into it, and so it makes sense it would take them a little bit of, I guess, extra time to put this out. Also, considering the amount of effort they probably had to go into just making flippers accessible to people over the last 2 years. But it's also definitely not feeding that like hacker vibe, right? Like the Wi-Fi dev board is almost exclusively used for Marauder firmware. I don't know a lot of folks who do a lot of Wi-Fi debugging. But I kind of failed to see how you would do anything malicious with this device. So let's take a peek over at the store page. Now this is the Flipper 0.1 page, the official page, and we're on the store. You can buy this right now. If you're in the US, you can just add it to your cart. If you're in Europe, I think you need to use a third-party distributor, and it's going to come a little bit later to the rest of the world. At $50, I don't know. I have my thoughts, I guess, on that price, but I'm curious as to what you think. So let me know in the comments if you think that that's a good price in comparison to some of the other boards that are out there right now. A lot of their focus in the advertising is really on this Pico microcontroller core, right? This is based off of the RP2040 microcontroller. So we can basically do whatever we want in terms of like using this as a Pico, right? I guess that means that you can finally go to the No Flipper Zero No Problem video and turn your video game module into a bad USB device. I mean, I guess that's as good a use as anything else. So that's always fun to see. But it seems like they're really focusing on that a lot, which is interesting considering the price for the device, because the microcontroller itself, a Pi Pico, is like less than $10. So that can't be the crux of it. It does have all the exposed GPIO for the most part, right? Like we have this exposed GPIO up here in the top left. And that's accessible while the Flipper Zero is connected to the module. But I do believe that in standalone mode, the GPIO on the bottom in that orange area, this GPIO is also accessible. So if it's not plugged into the Flipper, then you can, I think, use this like any kind of standard GPIO. Now, of course, not all the GPIO is going to be exposed because some of it's being used for our video out and for our motion sensor. Now, I think the video out's hilarious. It's called that for a very specific reason, which we'll see as we move along. And I'm actually more intrigued by some of the other elements of the video out aside from video itself. Motion sensor, I mean, this seems like the feature that they're really focused on. I think they really want people to use this gyroscope, so much so that they've opened up some of their own development tools to help people maybe incorporate the motion sensor into their previously existing apps. So you can see in the video they're using like Air Mouse to directly talk from the Flipper to this motion sensor chip, and I guess we'll chat about that again a little bit as well. USB-C is just a nice indicator that we're getting a high quality device, and Flipper Zero's pretty big on high quality fabrication, and I think that's why they take so much time with their devices. And they basically mentioned the standalone mode like twice. They're really into the standalone mode thing, so that's a big feature for this particular device. And I mean, it is interesting because it's not just a Pico. We have this built-in modules that we can actually write like custom Pico firmware to address, but also it has all the headers like basically pre-soldered. So that's kind of nice as well. I also want to check out, let's go back to the top here. I want to check out this blog post by the Flipper team introducing this new module. So the tech specs are down here. There's a little bit more about what's going on. The screen will be outputting at 60 or 640 by 480. And that might seem small, especially if you're trying to plug this into like a 4K TV or something. But if you consider that we're, blowing up from an incredibly tiny screen, I think that should probably look pretty good. And they also seem to think that that's going to look pretty good as well. You can also see here that they didn't want to pay for HDMI licensing. So they actually just decided not to use that copyrighted name, but indeed it's HDMI. And that's interesting to me because of HDMI audio. It doesn't say it here, but I believe it says it elsewhere that it will output HDMI audio, which to me implies that they have figured out digital audio out, because I've seen a lot of people playing around with PWM audio, but I want digital audio out for a separate purpose, for playing with something else that I want to play with. So it's intriguing to me. I'm definitely going to dive into the source code to see what's going on there. The module can be powered by both 3.3 volt, 5 volt, and it can also be powered by the 5 volts through the USB-C. And it also says that you can power it through the Flipper as well as powering it through the USB-C port, which is kind of a surprise. Usually you don't want to like double power things. You don't want to apply power twice, but it seems like it's okay to do in this particular circumstance. So we got the video out. So the copyright limitations, haha. And then they also talk about how they're scaling from such a small screen that 640 is going to be great. So 480p or whatever is going to look really nice. The gyroscope, they're really into the gyroscope, and it's interesting. They've set it up so that both the Pico microcontroller and the Flipper can directly interface with the chip. So they really want applications on the Flipper to add some sort of feature that allows them to interact with the motion tracking sensor. The only caveat being that I guess they can't both interact with the motion sensor at the same time. I like this. This is pretty nice. So they include a silicone bumper with the module. But if you already have a silicone case, obviously that's not going to fit super well. So they've made it so that you can just remove the silicone here and plug it right into your Flipper, and you get that same comfortable fit. I guess they were really concerned about fit because they feel like having the weight of an HDMI cable off of it, they really wanted it to make sure that it's not going to like just snap right off. Which, I mean, honestly, like having an HDMI cable plugged into your device, it seems kind of weird. It's like a weird controller or something, but it's still cool. It's a cool idea, and I mean, hopefully, again, that the audio work that they've done might help me out. So yeah, I mean, this is them showcasing that you can basically put any kind of firmware on here and make it do Pico things. So they really want you to kind of just view this as a very fancy Pico. And Yeah, I don't know how many folks have gotten into the gaming element of this device so hard that they're willing to like, game connected to a TV like this. I don't know. I'm really intrigued. I'm intrigued to see whether people get into this or not. I do like that they've released the game engine. So they've released the game engine, and it also includes a demo about how they are using the motion tracker, so that to make it easier for everyone else to get involved in that. And this is what makes me believe that these GPIO are going to be useful in its like standalone mode, as they kind of make a comparison to the Pico. So it is like similar to a Pico, but it's not exactly like a Pico. There are some differences here. And yeah, I mean that's like basically it. This is the PCB. So this is like a fully custom PCB. They've done a really cool job of doing the same documentation, showing all the same stuff that they have with the flipper itself. So I'm really intrigued because I don't know. I don't know whether I feel like this is going to sell the same way that some of their other things have sold, because I know a lot of people are really into this device because they want to hack, right? And this seems like it's not really necessarily scratching that itch. But I wonder if they have released this almost exclusively to kind of like quell some of the buzz around it. To be like, hey, no, the Flipper Zero really is for gaming. I swear. I swear it. Fingers crossed. This is honestly just for video gaming. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are on this new module. Do you plan on going out and grabbing one? Are you really excited for this? Are you hesitant, or does this really just kind of seem like a stupid add-on that's not really listening to what consumers want? Although I guess like what consumers want is generally very illegal stuff. So I don't really know what else to say about that. Yeah, so thanks for hanging out. Check out some of my other videos. Maybe those are interesting to you, and hopefully I'll see you around.